Why do we hear about breakthroughs in cancer treatment only to never see them again? You don't cure cancer, universally, because cancer isn't a disease. It's 10,000 diseases with 10,000 pathologies. A breakthrough for one might lead to insight in a dozen others if they're similar, but you're still left with 9,987 other types of cancers that haven't been cured. Some cancers are already treatable with immunotherapy. That is a field with a lot of breakthroughs. The problem is some of the immunotherapy drugs have vicious side effects on other parts of your body, so it's going to take some time to refine them. Source: My SO is a cardiologist. A lot of extensive and expensive research is also done ex vivo, outside of the human body, i.e. in laboratories, only to find that they don't do well in actual patients. The First Cell by Azra Raza talks about this, and a lot more, at length if you want a good read. The way funding for research changed years ago. Now, popular research has a high chance of funding. Also, there is pressure on researchers to communicate successes. So we are hearing about potential avenues sooner in the process. Years ago, the same research was never heard of until it actually panned out. I disagree with your premise. A good friend of mine is being treated for Hodgkin's lymphoma at the moment. In the 1950s, the 5-year survival rate for him was 30%. Today, it is 86%, and it's not unreasonable to think he'll outlive me. Don't think that just because the cure isn't one little pill that we haven't made huge strides. One thing a lot of people aren't mentioning is that drug development can take over a decade. When you hear about big discoveries in the lab, it can take 10+ years, sometimes more, to develop and verify an actual pharmaceutical. There are T-cell therapies approved for use by the FDA. Their use is gaining steam. They are for specific cancers though. The problem with cancer is there is no cure-all yet. Yet, there are amazing things being accomplished in cancer treatment. A lot of it is just clinical trials until proved efficacious. Numerous cancers have gone from practically 5% survival rates to plus 50% due to many of the breakthroughs you hear. Some cancers are over 90% curable these days. Unfortunately, there are so many types of cancer that there will never be a suitable blanket cure for all cancer. You may cure breast cancer, but the treatment may not work for brain cancer. None of these links go to the actual peer-reviewed papers written by the scientists. This is journalism hyping up science to increase their audience. I tell people don't trust anything scientific or medically related you hear or read from the media. Ask a real scientist or physician if you want to get an accurate assessment of the field. It's not just cancer. It's what the medical industrial complex promotes and the media cooperate in. A breakthrough headline, a little razzmatazz about cures, and then at the very end, well, it's in stage X of some protocol, and will be in clinical use in 10 or 20 years. Then you never hear of it again, but you do remember all the fine people who brought you the good news. Because the pharmaceutical companies don't want a cure. They will make far more money on a treatment, i.e. a battery of drugs you will have to buy and take for a long time, than they would for a cure, i.e. a one-time treatment that would eradicate said cancers. In all subjects, medicine, humanities, STEM, to really get a clear picture you have to read the research. The media will never give you a clear picture, and you might have varying success with orgs of experts that do outreach. I think the problem is expecting education to come easily. On a side note, media really likes to link people's work to something relatable like cancer that people feel is important. Almost everyone has a relative that died from cancer. I myself got an article in the local newspaper that implied that my work would cure cancer when in reality I had been working on tools that could be used in cancer research. I think a lot of the problem stems from how they're reported. A group of scientists will write a report saying they found some treatment that's been proven to be, say, 70% effective on one type of cancer in mice, then the news reports, genius scientists find cure for cancer. Everyone gets excited then when it never shows up, people blame the scientists. A lot of what we hear about in the public is misreporting from news outlets. The Daily Mail is famous for its causes, cures cancer headlines. If a paper suggests a marginal benefit in a petri dish of one ingredient also found in chocolate and the headline is, "Chocolate cures cancer," researchers over-speculate as to the importance of their findings in order to have a chance for more funding. Peer review is not sufficiently probing, very few results are independently verified, many breakthroughs are diagnostic rather than an intervention. It may take decades and hundreds of millions of dollars or even billions in investments before a discovery is commercialized into a product. Typically then, even though the task was monumental, news will rarely report on these commercialized products when they are available because the TV networks want dollar for pharma TV ads. They aren't going to provide free advertising. I would also like to bring up that many discoveries that have just been discovered to be effective in the last 10 years are being used as possible cures, but they may be used for a particular type of cancer or may be expensive. So they will be used after the more common methods have all been attempted. Human nature on several fronts. Journals publishing mostly positive studies, most are negative, and journalists who want you to click on their articles so they enthusiastically report on certain things. This happens all over medicine and engineering, I've noticed. Just because you break through a window doesn't mean you can make it through the window. Finding something new doesn't mean finding something that leads to usable results. And even if they do, they have to face the labyrinth of the FDA. Media sensationalism in a nutshell. They know these stories get clicks, even though they are generally way too early to reliably predict success. Some pan out, many don't. You rarely get a follow-up because the follow-ups, especially one about a treatment turning out to be ineffective, wouldn't drive the same click traffic. One thing I haven't seen mentioned yet is money. Some of these new treatments aren't worth investing in because either the form of cancer they treat is rare and therefore developing a cure wouldn't make for a solid return on development, or they won't make enough money to appease their shareholders. To add on to all of these things, just because there's a discovery regarding treatment, doesn't mean it's feasible or even easily repeatable. Add on to that, once a treatment is discovered, it needs to be produced and tested. The testing can take years.